It is one of Florida's oldest industries, and next weekend in Polk County, it will be on full display. The Florida Citrus Festival, it's coming back to Winter Haven for the first time since 2008, if you can believe that. And as the citrus industry continues to face some headwinds, we wanted to focus on the long, significant history citrus has here in Florida and how it can grow back to the scale perhaps it once was, and what the fruits of those efforts might look like. So to do that, we are welcoming in today's panel Winter Haven Mayor Brian Yates and also Rick Dantzler, a former state representative and state senator, and currently the COO of the Citrus Research and Development Foundation. Gentlemen, gosh, welcome back to In Focus. We are so excited to have this date on our social calendar. And Mayor Yates, if I may start with you, let's begin with the Florida Citrus Festival here. This was an annual celebration for, I'm thinking decades, right? And you grew up in Winter Haven. So talk to me, what kind of memories do you have of this event? Everyone was going to it.
Well, it truly was a special event here in Winter Haven. Lots of Friday nights at the Citrus Festival, lots of concerts, lots of fun rides, lots of great times. And this new revised version won't have some of those same things, but it'll get back down to taking a moment, stopping, and smelling the orange blossoms.
Yes. Oh, goodness gracious. You nailed it right there. And, Mayor, sticking with you, now that the city is planning to bring the festival back, just curious to know those behind the scenes conversations. What was the driving force behind this effort that's coming to fruition now?
Well, I can't take all the credit. The city can't take all the credit. It was actually Chris Sexton and his team over at Destroyer Media who really tried to spearhead and put this event back onto the map here in Winter Haven, and they've done a phenomenal job. And I can't wait to see everything that they've come up with.
Yeah, and Rick, I want to know your role in putting this thing together. I'm curious, what have been the biggest things that you're focused on, and really, what is the ultimate goal, of this festival? A big family-friendly day for sure.
Well, I must confess I haven't been involved in the planning of the event, but I certainly remember it. I was a kid in Winter Haven too and had those great Friday night experiences just like the mayor did. My job now is to make sure we have a citrus industry to celebrate. And I'm pleased to report that there is good news on the horizon. In fact, I believe the foundational blocks for not just a, an industry that's going to survive, but an industry that's going to actually grow and prosper is nearly upon us. It's been a difficult road, and we've certainly lost a lot of soldiers. The industry is only about a quarter of it once was. I don't think we're going to ever get back to where we once were, but we are going to be many times, or at least several times, larger than what we are now. I honestly believe that the limiting factor is going to be having citrus land to grow citrus on instead of the inability to grow citrus in the face of HLB, which is an acronym for the disease Yonggong Bling, which we've been suffering from since 2005 in commercial citrus groves, and it really has represented an existential threat. But we finally have reasons to be encouraged, and we're going to make it.
And Rick, sticking with you, I remember back in the day looking at those tourism videos, you see, orange juice everywhere and grapefruits everywhere. Come to Florida and it's going to taste unlike anything ever. And I recently went down to Dundee and experienced cups, the citrus under protective screens. When I walked into that Dundee, the entrance, the gateway into that grove, I smelled and could touch and could feel and to watch the juices of the citrus I have never seen in my 20 years here in Florida. Talk to me about that screening to eliminate that invasive bug that contributes to the citrus greening.
Yeah, the disease is caused by a little bug that's about as big as a flea. And these CUPS facilities, which is an acronym for Citrus Under Protective Screens, they are typically 10-acre facilities that are screened in. They're very expensive though, and so you can make the economics of that work only if you have high value citrus crops like red grapefruit or some of the mandarin varieties. We haven't figured out a way yet to make juice fruit work in a cups facility. So most of our research is focused on the traditional citrus grower trying to make it out in the field. That's really where we're going to either survive or fail as an industry. But like I say, there are some reasons to be very encouraged, and I have been more encouraged in the last 6 months than I've been in the last 6 years that I've had this job. So we're getting there, and I think the future is going to be bright.
And that it was so encouraging too to drive down from Central Florida to Dundee. You know, you saw some of the groves that were just desolate, and then walking into that facility and then opening up that screen just to see lush and things that you'd think of the 50s, 60s perhaps was indeed really encouraging. And so, Mayor, to you, you know, Polk County, of course, the top county in Florida for citrus production. So, Mayor, you know, I imagine that is quite the point of pride for you. How are you all trying to move this further and to make this again part of the platform and the vision of what people see your county as?
Well, you know, certainly while the growth has been great here in Winter Haven and throughout Central Florida, I think it really comes down to the generational families who have had these groves for tens, 20, 30, 40, 50 years and beyond. It's time to see the next generation continue to grow new crops as opposed to pushing those groves and putting more houses on them.
Got it. And then Rick, you know, yeah, like that, agriculture, huge here in
Yeah.
Florida. And, you know, it makes me think of this other fruit forward festival that Floridians will be familiar
Yeah.
with, you know, not far from Polk County. And of course, that's the
Yeah.
Strawberry Fest in Plant City. So are you able to draw, or the teams drawing any inspiration from an event like that to kind of recalibrate this Citrus Fest and to put it back on the map in the right way with this new generation perhaps being exposed to this for the first time?
Oh, absolutely. Agriculture is still the second largest industry in the state behind only tourism. And citrus is still a significant agricultural commodity in Florida. I mean, an orange is on our license plate, for crying out loud, and that's there for a reason. But yes, citrus is not the only great agricultural commodity in Florida. And the Strawberry Festival is one of the great celebrations of Florida agriculture that occurs every year. I'm just tickled to death to see the Citrus Festival back in business. I have a brother who was president of the Citrus Showcase for many years, and that was just an event that we look forward to every single year. And it was a shame when we lost it in 2008. But things come and things go, but every now and then things come back, and that's what really gets me excited about the showcase. I know it's not going to be what it was when we grew up, but maybe it can be better. And I think we need to go at it with that kind of an attitude.
To look forward, we also have to look back and see where the industry stands today. So check this out. Yeah, according to data from the U.S. Department of Agriculture, Florida's citrus industry, it reached its peak in the 1990s. In the 1997-98 growing season, the state produced more than 304 million boxes of oranges, grapefruit, and other citrus. Just try to quantify that, to visualize that. And then one decade later, the figure shrunk to just over 200 million boxes. So since then, hurricane damage and citrus greening that we were talking about, so tiny little flea-sized bugs, among other things, have led to further decline. And then during the 2023-24 season, Florida produced just 20 million boxes, which is actually a rebound from the 18 million produced that year before. So the state, it hasn't produced even 100 million boxes since the 2014-2015 season. I know a lot of data, but you can just see the trends happening and where we are right now. So Rick, we mentioned some of the issues, citrus farmers have faced at the top of the show. What are we doing around the state right now to help them keep growing such an iconic crop? And what more can we do to perhaps bolster the industry, even in addition to cups that we talked about?
Right. Well, the research foundation that I run has been in existence since 2009. It was formed by citrus growers to respond to this existential threat of citrus greening. We have funded 550 research projects. We have spent about $260 million. And nationally, the country has spent about $1.35 billion researching this disease, trying to figure out some way to conquer it. It has just been a very difficult thing to deal with, but we believe that we have finally come up with some therapies that are going to keep growers going until the tree of the future arrives. And when I say the tree of the future, I'm talking about the tree that is either highly tolerant of the disease or perhaps even resistant. That would be the holy grail. And we have made some real advancements in the area of plant breeding that I think those trees are upon us. Now, citrus is a crop that it takes a long time for a tree to come into production, 3 to 4 years, used to be longer. We're pushing it along a little bit harder now. So it takes a long time for the new tree to begin bearing fruit. And then you only get one crop a year. So it takes a long time to figure out if what you are doing is helping. But notwithstanding all of that, and because of these impediments that we have faced, but because we have been at this for long enough now, we are beginning to see some very clear winners and losers from the standpoint of existing therapies and from the standpoint of having trees that are either highly tolerant or resistant. It's going to take a few more years for us to validate what we believe is true. And we know that a certain level of validation is necessary before growers are going to go all in on it. And it's going to take a while to grow these trees too. It takes about 18 months to grow a tree before you can even give it to a grower, and then another couple of years before it starts bearing fruit. So we're still a couple years out. But some of these other therapies we've been working on, which I can go into later if you would like, will allow growers to hang in there until this tree of the future is with them.
And then just envisioning folks taking these tours, just going around the groves and being able to see that grapefruit being sliced into, watching the juices come out and then being able to taste it, in the headquarters of the hub where they have that gift shop area. That's what we're all looking forward to eventually with this. And yeah, so Mayor Yates, what are you seeing then in Winter Haven and Polk County, where citrus acreage is higher than anywhere else in the state? Are there steps that you've taken that could help you feel rejuvenate with Rick's work, the industry elsewhere in Florida?
Well, I think the growth market really has to iron out first. The next step is to, again, get these next generations of citrus growers in place and having the desire to continue to grow their crops as opposed to selling to the developer. There's a balance to both, and we've seen it on the developer side as of the last several years, and we need to shift that back a little bit more to the farmer side and allow those crops to be replaced that have died off with these new trees that are more resilient. And with that, over time, we'll certainly get our citrus back.
What are some of maybe the most anticipated things that viewers can expect from the return of the Florida Citrus Festival? I know you're not an organizer, but I know you're part of the hype, and I know you're probably going to know growers there and awareness and giving a kind of a status update on the industry.
Well, you know, so many people are new to Florida. They just don't understand how it used to be. And for them to get a smell and a taste of what this industry once was is going to make them want some of it to come back. It's important to realize that growers are not selling their groves because they want to. They are selling their groves because they have to. They have been losing money as citrus growers for a number of years now, and they are at a point where they just can't do it anymore. And our state and federal leaders have been extremely generous to help provide funding for some of these newer therapies and to get new trees in the ground. But you know, when you're at a point where you've been losing all this money and a developer comes along and offers you $70,000 an acre, which is not unheard of, it's hard not to take that deal. So that's why it's very urgent that these short-term therapies that we have work and that we get this tree of the future into the hands of growers quickly, or it's going to be too late for everybody.
So on those lines, Mayor Yates, you know, for a long time, Florida synonymous with citrus. So now we have so many huge industries, theme parks, rocket launches, for example, you know, but we know you still clearly believe in recognizing citrus as a big part of our heritage, that it is. And why is that? Just expound on that.
Well, I mean, I myself am a seventh generation Floridian. We've got citrus and cattle in our roots. I was out there picking many of citrus trees growing up, and you know, it's just a part of life. And there's nothing better than rolling down your window on a cool morning and smelling all the orange blossoms as you drive down the road. And you know, there's nothing that can replace that.
We all have to be patient with the new implementations of technology and strategies to help these groves survive. If you're speaking with you in 5 years from now, is it reasonable to say that we as viewers, as tourists, as locals could see a difference?
Absolutely. We are not ever going to be back to where we once were, but we are going to be several times larger than what we are now. And you know, I believe that in my heart and soul. The foundational blocks for not just an industry that's surviving, but one which is thriving, are in place, and we are going to get there.
And I think in those couple of years, we're going to come do this in person. We're going to have our glasses and we're going to cheers and toast with our beautiful glasses of orange juice and grapefruit. And gentlemen, thank you for your time and your advocacy. And we will all be at the Citrus Festival. They have vendors, live music all throughout the entire day, and more citrus than we can consume ever. So guys, thank you so much, gentlemen, for your time here on In Focus. Rick and Mayor Yates.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. To keep up with important issues impacting our communities and hear more conversations with the people who are shaping the future, subscribe to our channel. You can also download our app or find Spectrum News on your TV for balanced, in-depth political coverage and more.